Hello, this is Delamere, and welcome to another repair video. We're looking at this iPad mini 5th generation. As you can see the info right across there. And quite clearly, it is pretty cracked up. There's another issue that's a little bit, I'd say much more minor. And it's just that the power button, it works, it's just a little bit squishy feeling. I'm going to look into that as well. As far as I can tell, there is nothing wrong with the screen. It looks like it's in good condition. But unfortunately with this, the digitizer is directly glued to the panel itself. So I think I might be able to salvage the screen and then maybe I could put it up on eBay for sale. I don't do refurbishing of screens in that fashion. But let's take a look at this, and we're going to show you guys how to do an iPad mini 5th gen replacement screen. So this particular repair is, I would say it's pretty straightforward. It's just extremely tedious. I've got to go and use a heat gun, and I always like to start in the areas that are more or less intact, and I work my way around. And once we get to this area here, I'll explain more about how to get in and what to do to get past those breaks, because it can sometimes be fiddly. What you're looking for is just hot to the touch, as usual. Hot to the touch. I'm just going to start in one area. Now the screen, as we are trying to salvage it, it should be okay as long as it is you're just going hot to the touch. If you go over that, you might start causing damage to the screen. I think that's about right. Now to get into this, there's a few different ways that you can get in. I usually use a blade, just a little chisel razor blade to get in. Just pop it in, and you're just looking to make a little bit of a gap right there. There we go. Oh, it's the magnetic side. I'm pretty sure the cables are also on the right side of the tablet. You also don't want to put in too much alcohol. If you're trying to save the screen, that is. If you're not, you really don't care about the screen, then it's not really a big deal. Once you got that gap, you can take the blade out after you put a card in, and you can start cutting through that adhesive. Now you remember that since the screen is glued to the digitizer, there's no way you're going to be able to go all the way, and you're going to have difficulties figuring out where you should stop. So you just got to feel your way. Another way is you could also measure. Like we're looking right here. I don't believe it's going to be all that easy to cut into the screen itself, so it's not something that I'm that concerned about. This side you only need about, I don't know, less than a quarter, maybe an eighth of an inch. You're looking at like this much. Very little in on that side since the screen is very close to the edge. Okay, at this point I'm just going to drop this plastic card in here. We're going to start heating up this side with the heat gun. Now it's going to be a lot tougher to get past this little bit right here since you've got a break. The way to get past that is you got to use the razor blade again to lift up. Just push up a little bit, and then while you're doing that, you just push on the card to get past there if you can. There we are. Oh, I'm getting past those other cracks. That's nice. It's going to be a real pain to get around that bottom bit, though. The closer you get to the really, really badly shattered area. See how I'm trying to get past this next bit there, but it's the next piece of glass, it's not coming up. So once again, you got to go in there with the chisel blade, lift up. Then while you're lifting it up, then you can put that back in there, get past that next notch. I'm banging up against a cable right here. There's a strip of adhesive, and it's running right along the same spot as a cable. I'm going to just break that piece of adhesive so we can continue on. I wonder if I can use this now. I think right here, if I can poke this in behind the next piece, I can lift up. No, it's not working. I figured it wouldn't, but I thought I'd give it a shot. I'm going to heat this bit up here with the heat gun now. That should be good. Yeah, that's getting annoying. Time for some alcohol. Looks to me like the cables for this one, like most tablets, I forgot that most tablets, they have it on the right side, but this one actually has them on the bottom. That's very interesting. So that means we're going to have to go stop working on the bottom there and start working on this left side here instead. Now, if there is enough glass shards, I would recommend gloves and even some safety glasses just to protect yourself. That isn't the case with this one. It isn't that bad, but I've seen some that were pretty much sandy. They were so bad. Just like the other side, you're using maybe 1/8 of an inch. It's like 3 millimeters to get through this this glue on the sides. Here we are. Very nice. You can see on the inside some right now. Yeah, so it is. Okay, I'm going to heat this up some more, make it a little easier to get this up. Now, because the screen is stuck to the digitizer, it means that it's going to come all together as one unit. And because of that, this has its bonuses as well as its frustrations. Just because there is a little bit less work to do. It's more expensive is the frustration mostly for me. There we go. This is more or less out. There's some screws that I got to take out. But what I want to do now is I want to turn the tablet back on and make sure that screen is still functioning. Then I'm going to take a picture of it for eBay so that they can see the screen is working as well. There we go. As you can clearly see, screen is still working and no visible blemishes. You can see right there, you got the, oh, come on. Alcohol can loosen that up. Got right there the little plate right there holding down cables. I believe that is, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be Phillips. They are Phillips, yes. It's PH000 Phillips screwdriver bit. Now look at that. It took the battery. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. It's actually quite frustrating because with most of the iPads, just straight normal iPads, they have not exactly like a connector, but a ribbon cable that plugs in. That plugs in, it slots in, and you have to remove a screw. And if you forget to put the screw back in, the tablet can sometimes act a little weird. There we go. I gotta go and clean up all this adhesive. Some of it is coming away pretty easily, but we gotta clean up the residue as well. I'm gonna clean up the remaining glass particles that are still on the bottom, and then get the old adhesive gunk that's still stuck in there out. I usually just take a little piece of paper towel and I jam them all little bits of gunk into there. Makes it a lot easier. And you got to really soak it down with some isopropyl alcohol. It needs to be at least 90, 91. I use 99%. And after I let it soak for a bit, I scrape it out using the back of the chisel bit. Works quite well. Now let's get the black adhesive that's still sticking around. Let's get this out of there. Now any of the tools, equipment, or supplies that I am using in this video, or in my other videos, you can generally find Amazon affiliate links to them in the video description. So if you look down there, you can find them. I do make a little bit of a profit off of those links. There we go. It's coming along fast. Okay, I'm just going to go and soak down the edges here. I'm going to let them soak. Okay, that's been soaking for a bit. Let's give it a good scrape. See how well that does. I think I left it too long. See how easy that comes up? Just scoops right up. Not all of it's coming up, unfortunately, but I'll keep at it. Now, if you're wondering why I'm using the back of the blade instead of the normal chisel side of the blade that's sharp, it's because it's too sharp. You can actually dig into the tablet's frame. I want to avoid that. I'm just going to do the same thing all the way around. And I'm also going to have to go over it with a Q-tip, clean up the rest of the gunk. Now, you'll never get this perfect. Just keep that in mind while you're working away at this. You're never going to get it perfect. So just aim for good enough. You're just looking to get rid of the majority. I want to be really careful around that camera. Looks okay at the moment, but you get a little something on that. It's going to be cleanable. It's just going to take a lot of effort to get it cleaned up properly. There's also a sensor here as well that you want to look out for. I think that's for Face ID. I think. Well, no, this has got a fingerprint reader, so maybe it's a spatial sensor of some sort. Okay, that's about as good as I can do. Okay, let's go over it with a Q-tip and get that remaining little bits left gone. Bunch of alcohol on the Q-tip. Just run it across here. And there we have it. That's all prepped. I'm going to put this to the side. We got to focus on the screen now and get in that home button disconnected. I also want to check the screen that I purchased from my parts supplier. I was expecting it to come with this little bracket here. That's okay. I can salvage the bracket. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to disconnect the home button. And you flip up the connector on the back. You guys can't see what I'm doing. So there was a piece of tape. This little thing was covering it right there. And there is a little black connector thing that's pushed down. You can just pop that up, and then you can remove the ribbon cable from that connector. Just a tiny amount of alcohol right around here. You don't want at all to flood this area. If you flood it, you're going to damage the screen. And in fact, I'm going to test this screen after I've got this up, just in case. I want to make sure that the screen has no faults before I put it up for sale on eBay. You don't want them coming around and saying, hey, you sold me that screen, but it's got blemishes, even though your pictures didn't show any blemishes. Then they'll want a refund. You don't want to deal with that. I'm just going underneath this with my tweezers as carefully as I possibly can, working my way along. I'm adding little driblets of alcohol into there just to loosen up the adhesive. Tiny amounts. Usually what I'd like to do is use heat to get this up, but at the moment I'm a little bit too concerned about the screen. There we go. That's out. Maybe I can tear out the whole thing there, this little bit of the button. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. There's glue that they've put around the connector as well, kind of a hard, almost like hot glue, kind of like a hot glue gun kind of glue, just harder. You can just see it all around there. Yeah, you see that? I'm gonna have to use a razor blade to get it. Where'd my razor blade? Oh, there's my razor blade. You can see it cracks away from the glass the moment you get underneath it. That side's pretty much done. There's a little bit more left in the back, but that's fine. I'm gonna go on this side as well. If you're gonna hold the back of the screen, like, put as much surface area of your hand across the entire thing. Don't hold it all in one spot. Trying to prevent damage to the screen if at all possible. There's also adhesive on the back of this as well. There. Done. Okay, we've cleaned that area up. As well as the desk area, more or less. Let's give the screen another test. There you go. You'll notice that they are all lined up perfectly beside each other. And the gap between each of those ribbon connectors is pretty even. So that should be a pretty good indicator of where exactly you should be placing, what you should be placing it. There we go. The battery's plugged back in now. Let's see if this thing is still working. So far, so good. Looks good and clean. Very good. Okay, I believe we're finally ready to go and put in, at least test. I'm not sure why they put this here. This isn't needed for this type of tablet. This is for the regular sized iPads. I'll put in the home button in a bit. I recommend putting these ones in first. It just helps you line this one up second so much easier. There isn't really much that I can explain about getting these in. I am struggling to get it in. There we go. I'm basically just feeling my way, and then once I feel that it is in the correct spot, I give it a push, just a light push, and if it feels like it's grabbing, great. If it feels still like it's vaguely sliding around, then I back off and give it another go. There we go. Those are in. So far, it looks very nice. We got to check also to make sure that the touch is fully working. What we're going to be looking for is dead spots. I'm going to use my stylus just for a little bit more accuracy. It's not really necessary, but now if there is a dead spot in the digitizer, what will happen is it will literally just act as if I had pulled the stylus away from the screen. So if I was just going along exactly like that, except what happened was I was going into this section. But that's good. That's more or less, this is working great. This is working properly. So I can get this back out, and then we're going to go and put this button in. We got to still get the glass off of the area around this first. There's not much to really show with that. All I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be using my chisel blade, and I'm just going to end up putting alcohol around here, and as I go, then I just lift a piece of glass up. Okay, we got that home button all cleaned up. It's relatively easy, just applying a little bit of alcohol and then just peeling the little pieces of glass away. Now, this right here is a little ring that they've got in place. To my knowledge, it never really works all that well. I'm going to try just to see whether or not my theory with that proves still to be true. I think that's more or less in place. Now, if I switch to the front, let's just see how deep in that button is. Yeah, the button won't even click. That might be the positioning of this, though. No, I'm clicking it from the back. That's how darn high it is. I don't understand why this aftermarket screen maker always puts that ring in, because it's a waste. It never works. Never works. It always is too high. Let's remove it. And we're just going to be testing at this point. Once I'm sure about it, I'm going to be putting a little dab of glue in behind, and that'll do the trick. I just want to see how well it clicks. You press the button down. Got this nice little plastic window that you can make. They've got it pre-cut out. It's kind of cool. Now let's just see how well this works. You'll see how nice that is. Clicks fine. Okay. I'm ready to glue it in place. We really need to put a lot of glue when putting this in. I mean a lot of glue. There's even some glue we got to put around the edges of this. All I'm going to be using for this is just some E8000 glue. It's a rather quick drying, not an extremely quick drying, but relatively fast quick drying glue. And you can wipe away the excess afterwards. Don't need an excessive amount. Okay, that should do it. Nice and snug. Push it back down, holds it nicely in place. This still has a little bit of adhesive. I'm gonna just put a tiny more just on the back of here, because it's not holding flat anymore. Doesn't need a lot. Tiniest of dribbles. Now this right here has some adhesive in the way, so I'm gonna have to peel this a little bit off first in advance. Just get that out of the way. Okay, so far so good. Now we can put this in. It is not lined up. I think I need to go higher. Higher and a little bit over I went. It's clicking quite well now, so you can hear. Now I'm going to go and put that filler glue in. Just more E8000 glue. I'm going to have to let this dry for a little bit. There we are. I'm going to do one final test before leaving it to its own devices. It feels good. Feels very good. Now it does, for the 8000 glue, it does take, I think, a total of 24 hours to glue, but it does have a setting point, I think, of about 15 minutes. Yeah. Maximum should be between 24 and 72 hours. It's actually about 2 to 10 minutes is what it's saying here on the back. So that should be pretty good. So I've left it to dry for quite a long time, and I believe the glue is more or less set. It does need to sit a bit longer. It's still like slightly tacky, but that right there is good enough to go and install the screen. So that's what I'm going to do. I do need to put this little guy back on, but that should do the trick right there. Now let's go and get the tablet back. We've already fully tested this, so I don't believe there is any more testing that needs to be done. I say that, but I would like to do a final test, mostly for the home button. I just want to make sure the home button works. So let's get this reconnected, and let's test that. One last test. Does the home button work? It does. Very good. There's one other thing I want to test with it, is just to see whether or not the fingerprint reader works. It does work. Very good. Now, at this exact moment in time, there's two things I'm thinking about. I want to take a look at that power button. So although I would like to go and just put it all back together right here now, I would prefer to take a look at the power button, just see whether or not there's something that I can do to fix the issue that it has. Just, it feels really hard to push. Now the power button is right here, and it's just above the camera and this little sensor right here. So I think I got to take the plate off right here. Let's give that a go and just see what's going on with it. Hopefully it's just been jammed a little bit and it'll be an easy fix. Maybe I just need to peel this up. I don't know what to do here exactly. This is very odd. Yeah, I can peel this up. I don't know why they have this here. Maybe it's to protect the screen and it's just padding. Okay. Now let's see what's going on here. We got this cable right here for the camera. I still need to test that, come to think of it. I think it's glued in place. Let's see if I can just work around it for now. I'm gonna have to get this sensor out of the way then. I think it should be pretty easy to get that sensor out of the way. What am I doing? Put it on the desk to get this out. The cable for this sensor, it dips down underneath and wraps around this little piece of plastic, not plastic, metal, part of the frame itself. There. Okay. Definitely have a lot more movement going in here. The camera needs to come out. The camera module needs to be removed in order for me to go and get to whatever is going on here. Ah, I think I got it. Let's find out what's going on. Why was that so hard to get out? Yeah, it was glued in. Okay. We're getting somewhere. I can't get that right side up here. Finally. So what's going on with that power button? I'm going to take a look at the power button first before I move on. It seems fine. Does have a little bit of dirt behind there, but nothing special. So it's got to be something wrong here. It doesn't click. That's the problem. It doesn't click anymore. Very spongy. I'm going to look up and see whether or not my parts provider has this part. If it's relatively cheap, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. But I mean, like, if not, it still works. It just doesn't work well. Well, the part finally arrived. It just looks like the button is folded around this piece of plastic. It's got a little bit of adhesive on the back. So yeah, that thing has got adhesive as well, so this is good. We're all good. Looks like the sensor wraps around the bottom. No easy way to test this aside just straight up installing it, so here goes nothing. Hooks around right here. Very nice so far. Then there's more adhesive strips right here. It's protective adhesive backing, whatever you want to call it. Where did it go? It doesn't matter. It went on the floor somewhere. And I'm just rolling this up and over like that. It's pretty easy. I think this is a piece of plastic. This right here, that's a piece of plastic that's going over the ribbon cable. Because they got the lens right here. I think. Yes, that's exactly what it is. But it's aside that little piece of plastic protecting the lens, doesn't have that same little shield, so I think I need to peel this off. There. And it's got its own little bit of adhesive going on. That went on very nicely. Okay. Whew, okay, and then you take that last little bit off there, and I'm going to slip this in place. Slip it in place, and we'll be good to go. Okay, I think I'm going to put the screws in first. Nice. Okay. You hear that? That's how it's supposed to be. Now this bit right here, this connector, it's supposed to go down, but after that, it's supposed to flip around and underneath this little piece of metal. These tweezers. It's hard. Okay, not as hard as I thought, but it's in. Now I just put things back in their proper place. Okay, that's in. Lens is good and solid in there. Very good. I love how clicky that button is. So perfectly clicky. Like this one at all, it's gone. Don't know how that could have been broken. Screws are here, these are here. I gotta put this back in. It's got its own little screws, just 3. Let's get this hooked back into how it was before. Last screw. That's all set. I'm gonna put this back down where it was before. Put the screen on. Now you can't lock everything up. I'm not taking these adhesive strips off just yet. I need to make sure that this is all working first. So I'm going to connect this up right now. Start off with these like before so that I can line everything else up. Okay, let's see how this power button turns out. Just lightly clicking it down, pushing it down. There it is. That's how the power button's supposed to be working. Very, very nice. I think I'm ready to go and take those adhesive strips off. I'm going to turn the screen off so that I'm not annoyed by it. And I'm ready to put this back into place. So I also need to put the screws in for this to hold it all down. Just hold that screen up for a moment there. And it's screwed in. Now I'm ready to go and start taking these adhesive strips off. These ones are the easy ones to get off. The ones that are really hard to get off, the ones at the very bottom, I usually chop them because of that in advance. And I didn't do it this time. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Now I can take off the last of them. I think it's just this one right here. One more on the very top. Now, something that I've always done, just because of how annoying it is, just to get this one bit started, is I always put a little bit of alcohol on the very bottom. And this is just to make it a little easier for the screen to go in. I just wipe a finger across it and try to get that alcohol off quickly. Now, when you do this, it makes it possible to wiggle around on the bottom, and you don't have the adhesive immediately sticking to the screen. I'm doing one final check. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I have not. The alcohol will evaporate very quickly, so you don't need to worry about it causing any problems. As you can see, it's not sticking at all right now. That's fine. I'm all right with that. Once it evaporates, it'll stick down good and firm. And now for the peel. Finally getting this plastic off the front. It doesn't really show much of a difference, but it is very satisfying. And that's all there is to this video, guys. So if you like the video, please do leave a like. Hey, and if you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe. Thank you guys all for watching.